Hey everybody, today I'm reviewing a really cool little 1/16 scale brushless buggy. This is by ZD Racing. I have a ZD Racing 9106 truck and I absolutely love it. And this is another really nice buggy, brushless vehicle I should say, by ZD Racing. I don't have the top on here with the cotter pin so I can easily open it to show you the internals. It goes by the BX-16 or the Raptors, but the actual number of it is the 9051 is what the instruction says. Really nicely built four-wheel drive 1/16 scale brushless buggy on a 2S LiPo. It's got the oil-filled shocks, just real smooth, aluminum pieces on it, metal dog bones, composite plastics. So it's just not going to be easy to bust anything on this. Just so nice. I have never even flipped it in all my test drives. The body is just in perfect condition because it's just so well balanced that when it lands, even if it's a little off to the side, it always makes its way to the upright position. Even the one time I tumbled it, it just happened to still make it over onto its wheels and continue to go. It's got good power with the brushless motor, so even through rather tall grass it still goes. Not real fast, but it still goes really nicely. You can see that it comes in a rather plain box like the other ZD Racing stuff, but on one side it's got the graphics and it has the different models that are similar to it. There's a brushed and brushless version of it. It has metal gears inside and of course oil-filled shocks. So just a really nicely built like all the others. And this is only $99.99, so $100. If you use the coupon code in the video description, you can get this from RC Moment for $100 shipped free, which is, in my opinion, for a brushless vehicle, this is just a heck of a deal because this is very similar. It's a little bit bigger. I believe that the WL Toys A959 and A959B is 1/18 scale, so this is a little bit bigger than it, but this is a lot better. Now it may not be quite as fast because especially the B version of the WL Toys has that big 540 brushed motor, but this is so much better design. You can't drive that one in a straight line without it spinning out because it doesn't have the ball bearings and the wheels like this, and it doesn't have oil-filled shocks. And this is only maybe $30 more than that vehicle, I think. So this is just a much better car in this class. I absolutely love this thing, and this is my go-to buggy now for driving outside and stuff. This is just a lot of fun to drive. Let's go ahead and take off the top. You see it uses a Dean's connector. The ESC does not have a fan, and that's because on this 2S LiPo and this little brushless motor you can see it's got the ZD Racing logo on it. It doesn't need it, but I don't think they've got it set to the highest speed because it's probably around 20 miles an hour, maybe 25. But it doesn't go, it says 55 kilometers per hour. I don't know offhand the math, but I think that's over 30. It's not that fast. But make sure you got your throttle trim all the way up to right before it tries to creep forward so you get the highest top speed. If it's a little down, which mine was, then you're like, man, why is it going so slow? And that's just the throttle trim issue on the controller. But I think you get a program card, you probably can program this. I don't have one, so I'm not real up to date on that. But it might be that it's not set to the highest speed. They may have done that intentionally so that it is a little easier to control. These smaller cars can get skittish at really high speeds. So this one's so well designed, I have no doubt it can handle higher speeds than that. It comes with a 1500 milliamp hour 2S LiPo. It's 15C, so the discharge is a little bit lower. That helps with the run time, but it has a little bit less punch. But there's no doubt you can find a battery to fit this. You just have to measure it and find one that fits in here. You can get one that has a bigger capacity probably because the towers here have holes to lift it up higher than you need for this battery. So you get a bigger battery in there and probably a higher C, give it a little bit higher, a little bit more punch. You just use your standard Dean's connector, so really easy to charge this on a hobby grade charger. That's all I've used so far, and it charges up in like a half an hour. I've run it 10 minutes taking it in, it's still got over 4 volts per cell, like 4.05, so it had a ton of drive time left on it. So I think 20 minutes run time is not out of the question at all on this guy. Just like I said, really well built. It just goes right in there and you take a cotter pin in each one to hold the battery into place. The charger that does come with it, and I said I've got one like this, so I didn't even take this out of the box. It's the same charger that comes with the 9106 truck. It does use an AC cable, so you don't have, AC adapter. It doesn't have an AC, DC adapter, just straight into your wall, into the side here. And it does do 2 and 3 cells. And this charger works really well. This is the one I've used for other batteries that I didn't have the right connector to use on my hobby grade charger. But it's not going to charge as quickly as, a hobby grade. My iMax, like I said, about half an hour. This one's going to take you probably 2 hours to charge it up. I didn't actually time it. It comes with a binding cable here if you need to rebind the receiver, and it looks like an extra, if you want to put an antenna onto this, I believe that's what that's going to be for. You can access the receiver in here by taking this cotter pin out and lift it up, and you'll see it has a nice receiver in there. It's not necessarily proprietary. It uses regular Futaba style servo plugs, so you can easily swap out your ESC if you wanted to upgrade it to a better one. I'm having some trouble getting it back in there. I'll get it back in a moment, but it just goes back on there and then you put the cotter pin back in. Like I said, you can upgrade this ESC, and I'm sure you could upgrade the motor. But the only concern I have with this car is that the rear pinion gear and then the spur gear here to the four-wheel drive shaft, the pinion gear to the main spur drive gear coming off of it, the drives, the metal shaft you can see in the middle here, hopefully, between the front and the rear gear differentials. This is all exposed, is what I'm trying to get to. So if a rock or something got up in there, I could see where, obviously it would wedge in there and stop it, but you could cause a problem. Now the gears are all metal on this, so I don't think you're gonna have a problem with it stripping it as long as you immediately stop it, but I would have liked to have seen them to try to enclose this. But they may have left it open just so that it reduces the heat a little bit, but I'm not really exactly sure otherwise why they didn't just enclose it just so that it's not exposed. But so far that's been a non-issue, but that's like the only thing I can think of with this car that I'd even be concerned about. And of course I would like to have seen it to be a little bit faster, but again, that's a very minor gripe, especially for the price. The instruction manual, I don't usually go over those too much, but it's so nice I want to, because it goes over how to rebind and all that, and it does show you an exploded view here of how to take it apart and reassemble it if you need to do any repairs, because you should be able to get parts for this. RC Moments carries a lot of spare parts for ZD Racing now, so you should be able to get spare parts for this if you need to. Let's go over the controller real quickly here. It's got a throttle trim, which you want to make sure you have that all the way up to almost to right before it starts to creep forward, so that you can get the highest top speed. It's got a steering trim to line up the steering, and it's got a steering limiter if you want it to not turn so sharply. Your power switches on the back here. Of course, your throttle, and then forward is your brake, and then your reverse. And then it's got this nice foam grip, which is really comfortable in your hands. This is just like the 9106 uses. This is a high-end pistol grip controller, in my opinion, for what this vehicle cost. For $100, my goodness, this is really nice. It uses 4 AA batteries, not a whole lot of batteries. It has a charging spot. I think that's if they, I don't know if they make a lithium ion version, or it may just be if you put rechargeable AA batteries with a DC adapter, you could probably charge the batteries. And that may be what that is for. They don't tell you in the instructions. So I think I've covered everything on this. It's just a really nice car with a super price. So this is I highly recommend this because of the cost. $100 is hard to beat for a brushless vehicle with oil-filled shocks, because like I said, you don't spend a whole lot less and you're going to a brushed vehicle that's got spring shocks, and that's going to be not near as nice. You could definitely take this out and race this on a dirt track for RC cars, and it jumps so well, it's going to be able to run that track perfectly. So really cool car. So let's go ahead now and we'll move along to the driver view. All right, so I have the ZD Racing Raptors B16 4-wheel drive 1/16 scale buggy all bound up. Let's see, ready to go. Make sure whenever you do drive it, you make sure you get your throttle trim all the way up until it's almost ready to creep forward, so you get the highest top speed and acceleration. Mine came with it down a little bit, so then it seemed like it was kind of slow. It still isn't as fast as I would expect it for a brushless, but it's not bad by any means, you know. So let's go ahead and we'll take it out here and get an idea how it runs. It handles extremely well, and the oil-filled shocks make the suspension just super. I've never even flipped it, so it's just a really, really nice car. For $99.99 ship free for a brushless buggy, you just can't beat that in my opinion. Let's go ahead, we'll do some spin outs here in the garage. Even though it's four-wheel drive, it still does, as you can see. It's spinning out pretty cool. I always like doing that on the slick garage floors. Now, my garage floor is not the slickest, but it's still, see, it's still pretty cool. Now if that were just rear-wheel drive, it would just spin and do donuts in circles. So the front's still getting enough grip. So there it started doing it. Now let's go ahead and take it out here and drive it around and do some speed tests to show you how it does through the grass. Even though it's 1/16 scale, has considerable power with that brushless motor and a 2S 1500 milliamp LiPo. Yeah, it does pretty good. I said not super fast. I would say probably around 20 miles an hour, maybe a little faster. The instructions listed at 55 kilometers per hour. Now I've not done the math on that, but I know that's much faster than 20 miles per hour. It's probably 30 or so. It's not that fast. Now, you know, with this brushless ESC, it could be that if you have a programmed car, which I don't have, that you could try to adjust that, and maybe it's not set to its highest top speed. You should be able to adjust the braking, the acceleration, and the top speed. And they could have that dialed down, just because these 1/16 scale cars like this, they can get a little hard to drive on the highest, on really high speeds. So this one with the really good suspension, you know, it does a really good job. So it's less of a concern. Like, you know, I compare this buggy a lot to the WL Toys A959, you know, the B. It's pretty similar in size. And that one has that big 540 size brush motor. And even though I think that one's faster than this one, without doing upgrades to its suspension and ball bearings and the wheels and stuff, it's literally impossible to drive in a straight line. And as you can see, this one has no issues at all. Now, it's not quite as fast, but it still is a nice little car. Not everybody needs the highest top speeds. You want to be able to just take it out and go off-roading like this, and it popped right up over that curb, and that's a pretty high little bump there. The four-wheel drive was able to make it right up over it. It's really, really well constructed. Brakes pretty good. It doesn't brake on a dime, but that's okay. A little easier on the gears. The gears are metal inside of it. But one thing, you know, is, you know, the front, the gears off of the brushless motor are exposed up here. It's not sealed within there, which is a little bit of a concern in my opinion, because you get a rock or something thrown up in there and caught between the gears and bind it up. So the gears are metal, so they're not going to strip nearly as easy as a nylon gear. So that's certainly an advantage there. So it makes it less of a concern that those gears are exposed. You get the pinion gear and then the spur gear, they're both exposed. But overall, just a really nice car. You know, I really like this controller. This is identical to the ZDRACING 9106 four-wheel drive truck I have. It has the same controller, and that truck is amazing. If you've seen my reviews of that, it's also a 2S, and it's just big and fast, and it is faster than this car, and of course a lot more clearance and torque. But for someone who wants a smaller car, you know, especially for maybe a kid, this is absolutely perfect. And you don't have to worry about the issues of a brush motor where the brush motors can go bad or start to slow down. And this brushless motor is going to just keep on going. You're not going to have any damages to the brushless motor. And I don't see why you couldn't upgrade this stuff. I don't know if this will work on 3S or not. Like I said, the ESC doesn't have a fan on it, a cooling fan, and I think it's, don't hold me to it, I want to think it's 45 amp. I don't remember exactly the amps on the ESC. But I think 3S would probably get, at least, even if it worked, it might get too hot. But it just uses, you know, has a nice receiver in there that would be compatible with aftermarket stuff. I don't see any reason why you could not swap the ESC out for a better one with a fan. And I'm certain you could swap out the brushless motor. But it is a small brushless motor. I don't remember off the top of my head the size of it or the KV. But you certainly could go up to a faster brushless motor in a 3S with a different ESC. And that would not cost you much if you go with one of these, you know, like a Ghoul RC, which Tom Top and RC Moment makes. That's their house. And they sell a lot of those kits really cheap. I've used them. They're really nice motors and ESCs for the price, you know, under 50 bucks. So as long as you don't go with a big name brand, you could easily upgrade this thing to be way faster, and I don't see reasons why it couldn't handle it. But I'm fine with this. This is fast enough for me. This would be really good at off-road in the dirt, on a dirt track, because you can see, look, it just jumps really well. I'll bring it here again and kind of jump it straight on, see if it even flips. And it's just so well balanced. I have driven this several times. I've not flipped it, so the body on this, the body is just in mint condition. Now my ZDRACING 9106 truck, it's just so powerful and so fast that I flip it a lot. The body is really abused on that one, and it's a ton of fun, don't get me wrong, but this guy is just really well balanced. Let's do that jump again. And look at that. I mean, it hops and it just keeps going. It does not even, it's just really well balanced. The suspension, oil-filled shocks, and look at that. That's perfect. That's exactly what you want. And you don't see that too much, especially in a car that's $100 bucks. I mean, it's going to be tough to flip this guy over. So that means you take this to an RC track, a dirt track, you're going to be able to drive this guy and jump, and you're not going to be flipping it over. Now, it's not going to be competitive ready at this because of the speed. It's not fast enough unless there's a class, you know, that's at this you know, motor size. I don't know how they classify them. I've not been to the track since everybody just used brushed motors. See, it almost tried to flip and still grabbed itself. So the jumping is just really, really nice. I got at least 10 minutes out of it the other day before I went on it, when I was trying to kind of pay attention to the time, but the battery still was over 4 volts per cell, so it had a lot more drive time left on it. So I think 20 minutes drive time is probably not out of the question, because the ZDRACING, you know, the 9106 truck gets that on a 2S using a little bigger battery. But these ZDRACING, it's a new company. They really make some nice stuff. In fact, for brushless cars with, you know, aluminum and composite parts, they are a game changer in my opinion. I think they might be one of the best low cost, competitive, you know, brushless manufacturers out there. You know, they may not be at the level of Red Cat or moving on up the tracks or anything, but they certainly are not that far behind, considering that they're costing, you know, a half or maybe a third of the price of some of the more well-known companies. Now the shocks are not metal, they look metal, but they are just plastic, but they are oil filled, so as you saw, it really jumps nicely. Ooh, and it still got landed upright, even though I did a tumble. It's just really, really good at finding its way upright. And there's some really tall grass over here. And that's the one thing that all these cars at this size are going to encounter, is they're going to have difficulty in really tall grass of getting, you know, there's not enough clearance on them, and not the wheelbase is too small that it ends up getting caught up in the grass. So that's one of the very few times I've ever had it get caught on anything. So as you saw, even whenever I flipped the thing over and tumbled, it still made its way onto its wheels and was able to go again. So this is definitely going to be my go-to buggy now, since I've got issues with my old Tamiya Durga. I put too powerful of a brushless motor and lipo in it, and I've stripped some gears, and I haven't had time to go look and see. It could just be could be that the ball differentials come loose. That's what I'm hoping. This is my go-to. It's really well built. This will be fun whenever it snows in the wintertime to get it out in the snow. And just the right speed for, like, you know, a teenager or even a little bit younger than that, I think, no problem. In fact, I have no doubts my 6-year-old daughter, she's very good at driving cars. No doubt in my mind she can drive this, because this is not much faster than her little brushed buggies. It's faster, but not a ton. And she's really good. She loves to steer and steer and steer, and so she just keeps steering it. But she has really gotten good at it, and she just loves it. She's a little tomboy. She just loves it. See, it's got really good traction too. Like I said, not many negatives at all to say about this vehicle at all. I mean, considering this is $100 ship free, if you use the coupon code in the description, I have a purchase link down there to RC Moment, and $100 I think is actually a really good deal on it. So be sure to check the purchase link down there if you're interested in it. I think it also comes in another color. So just overall, a really nice car with a lot of good parts. And you should be able to get spare parts for this, because there's a lot of spare parts now available for the 9106 truck. So I don't see any reason why there won't be a lot of spare parts for this one too. I just think this is a little bit newer than a 9106, but they've got a lot of brushless vehicles they're coming out with, and just a really nice vehicle. So I appreciate you for watching, and stay tuned for more videos, and have a nice day.
The power of the dark side.